You've never done a single con?
No, not one.
Not a VidCon, not a...
You act like I'm dead, though. You're like,
Cat
you
con.
never did it. You
Well,
lived your entire
I don't
life.
think I've gone
You
to a
old
single
hag.
con either. I think DragCon is probably the first con that I've been to.
Yeah.
There's K-Con. There's
What,
CatCon.
Cat con?
See.
Okay, see. Okay. We're
Yeah.
bilingual. Got it.
We try to be.
It's the Pop Report.
So juicy.
Hey, Miss Ma'am.
Hi. Wait, redo that because I was cracking my neck.
I kind of want to keep that.
Okay, fine.
Hey, bitch.
Hi.
What?
Are you recovered from San Diego?
No, speaking of cracking your neck, I feel like I need to crack 50.
Did you get your back cracked?
I need back rolls cracked. I need back and body hurts. Like, I feel unwell.
Did you have cosplay sex?
No, did I see furries at ComicCon? Absolutely.
Really?
Only two.
How do you know what's a furry and what's like an X-Men?
When the man is dressed up, or the person in a full costume,
Yeah, you don't
that
know
is
how
furry,
they identify.
You don't know. You don't know who's under that costume. But like, I only saw two and I thought I'd see a little more, but I don't know if you ever had that whole like workout mentality of, you know, not the next day, but the day after, you're sore as fuck.
Yeah, it's always the second day.
That's me with Comic-Con right now. I'm like,
You were all over the place.
it was so nice. Went with Threads. They were like, hey girl, you want to come to Comic-Con? I'm like, sure, why not? They're like, are you going for work? I'm like, nope. And they shopped us around. They whored us out in a great style, went to all these different activations and things, but it is not a land for the faint. Like, there are people who camp out overnight for a spot at Hall H, which is where all the unveilings happen and all that shit. Thank God Threads was like, here's a skip the line pass for some things, but other stuff I was like, I'm not gonna wait in a line. I'm already tired. I'm bamboozled in my stomach from how much I've drank, eaten, and whatnot.
Ate.
See, I'm struggling.
Well, today will be fun.
Yeah, but also,
Yes.
we have somebody else in the studio today.
We do.
Hey, bitch.
Oh, I'm allowed to talk? Hello. How are
Now
you?
you're allowed to speak.
I was not at Comic-Con. I've
We
never
put
been.
baby in the corner.
You've never been to Comic-Con?
No.
I've never been either, and I am proud of that.
I also don't think I've ever seen a furry in real life either.
Only in the
know,
bedroom?
Only in like documentaries. Documentaries, no.
Only in the DMs?
Only in the This was my second Comic-Con, so
Yeah.
like the first time was 6 years ago, just like generally attending. My friend's like, here's a badge. I'm like, cool. This time was like so different when you're going there for work and like
Yeah.
you know everything, and I'm like, here I am standing next to Chase Crawford, like from the Boys cast, and I'm like,
Oh my God, if I hear about the boys one more time. So my husband, Emil, has been talking like for like probably what's
season 4.
So okay, so
Yeah.
for like a couple of years now,
Ooh.
he always says we need to watch the boys. We need to watch the boys. And I think we watched the pilot a couple of years ago and then just sort of fell off, but he keeps saying this again lately. I think there's probably another season out right now. I don't know, right?
There's season 5 is gonna be the last one. I'm only in season 2.
Okay.
I'm always
You
behind.
watch. It's on Amazon, right?
Mhm.
You told me I have
It's
to
like
watch
big-
this.
I need
but-
to get into it.
Obviously, Comic-Con's like comic-esque shows, so Marvel, like
Sure.
The Boys, like Dexter, like anything that has a fandom, there's a show.
I've never
there.
been to a single con in my life.
You've
Not
never been
DragCon,
conned?
Comic-Con, no con.
I went to DragCon for the
Yeah.
first time.
I know, I saw.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. How was that?
No
It was-
furries.
It was so hot in there, but there were no furries. But we had fun. We found lots of jock straps and
Yes.
I love the collective
Yeah.
like the gay
No furries. I'm trying to think of like who from that world. I'm like, maybe Willow Pill every now and then, or like who's done like those kind of like campy like Crystal Method, like who's done that
Yeah.
sort of like.
You've
that
never done a
look-
single con?
No, not one.
Not a VidCon, not a...
You act like I'm dead though. You're like
Cat
you
con.
never did it. You
Well,
lived your entire
I don't
life.
think I've gone
You
to a
old
single
hag.
con either. I think DragCon is probably the first con that I've been to.
Yeah.
There's K-Con, there's
What,
CatCon.
Cat con.
See,
Okay. See. Okay. We're
Yeah.
bilingual. Got it.
we try to be.
Yes. Okay, well, can you give us the rundown of what went down at Comic-Con? What were the biggest things? Because people are losing their shit about Robert
I
Downey
did
Jr.
hear about this one.
right?
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense to me, and apparently Gwyneth Paltrow was also very confused.
So, for those who, again, to preface Comic-Con, like it is the
Ridiculous.
fans upon fans. So for you to go into what's called Hall H, that is like the big hall.
Okay.
I went for the first year 6 years ago when Blade Runner was like announced, and they have screens 360. They have things they whip out. They have flying cars that came through this year.
Wow.
But, basically, Hall H is where Marvel and a lot of big other studios will do their big announcements. There's other ballrooms and stuff, but people will wait 12 plus hours and they will take shifts with their friends.
Never. No.
I've done it before.
Not even for Beyonce.
No.
Never. I wouldn't.
So these people were lined up, and I was in the room of Hall H for like what used to be called like the Women Who Kick Ass panel, which is now rebranded. But
wait, to what? Do we know what it's been rebranded to?
I'm blanking on the name.
Oh my
I
god!
went to
Oh,
it. It's
sorry.
no, call me
I didn't mean
out.
to
It's
call you out
called
like that.
Bold School.
He should have come prepared.
It's called Bold School.
Bold School. So it's once again erasing women. Wow. Wow.
I don't know if we just don't
Gender's
wanna
a
say kick-ass
construct. It's
anymore.
okay. Right.
Yeah,
Got
it's
it.
fine.
Yeah,
So
women don't exist anymore.
I left the room after the Bold School panel, which was followed by the Penguin panel. But usually they let you keep your seat for specific panels, like going into the next one. Some of them, they're like, it's Marvel, get the fuck out. Like, you have to re-wait in line. Those people who've waited for Deadpool, they did like a whole screening of the entire movie. I'm like, that's not a panel.
Don't
that's
forget
that's a movie.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
I'm of the generation. I
Deadpool
grew up
and
with Hugh
Wolverine.
Jackman.
Mm-hmm.
So there were surprise
Never
appearances from like Jennifer Garner, who was stuck in an elevator for an hour and a half.
What was she doing?
Why?
there?
She's Electra.
Well, she's been Electra
Oh, yeah,
for
and
decades.
she-
Not anymore.
But she is
was,
again?
She was Electra back.
Yeah,
in-
like 20
she's
years
back
ago.
as Electra?
Spoiler, people close mute
Wow.
for 4 seconds. She comes back in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, I think we just determined that.
I haven't
wow.
seen it yet.
So
Sorry.
it's a grown. Well, it hasn't come out yet.
It just came out, girl.
Oh, it just came out.
Yeah, great.
It just came out. Right?
Okay, so
This week.
Here's the tea. My husband was trying to go see Twisters 4DX with me because he hears it's incredible, right?
4DX is amazing.
And I saw Twisters in
What is
IMAX.
4DX?
It's like all the things.
It's,
They
it's a
spray
you're
with
in the
water.
Twister.
There's all kinds of
They
stuff.
spit in your
Water.
face.
Yeah, your
Wow.
chair shit. I saw Jurassic World years ago, and I will never go back. It was too intense. There was a T-Rex breathing on my throat at one point. So no. But now downtown in LA here at the 4DX Theater at Regal, they have Deadpool and Wolverine. So now he's trying to go see that.
So you want to
These
feel
tickets
Mr.
are like $40.
you
It's
want to
crazy.
feel Hugh Jackman breathing on the back of your neck?
Absolutely.
Sign me up.
1,000%.
Sign me up.
Yes.
But that was like the biggest thing is Deadpool and Wolverine, and then all of a sudden, you think that's it. No, Marvel has this big panel. They're like, you not only get 2 like Avengers movies, and you talk about Fantastic Four, but they also put on this big spectacle of Robert Downey Jr.
Wait, before we get to that, I just want to know what happened to Jennifer Garner and why she was stuck in the elevator and how we got her out. And how did we know she was stuck in the elevator?
She
And was
posted-
she in her outfit?
She posted videos. I think I was in that same
In the
elevator,
elevator.
but like at a different time. And I literally said to the security guard, good luck with that elevator. It's making some noises.
Do we think this was a press opportunity, like a PR stunt? Because remember when
That's what I was
Brie at BravoCon got her heel stuck in the escalator coming, or Bryn, Bryn
Oh my
from
God.
New York, Real Housewives of New
Yes.
York.
Yeah.
Bryn Whitfield. And is that right?
Yeah.
Am I just
Yeah.
making these names up? So
I
she
think
gets her,
that's right.
She got her heel stuck in an escalator coming
Yeah.
down to the panel, and that was the thing that went viral from BravoCon.
That was the thing
Is
that
this
went
like
viral.
is this a PR team trying to create a viral moment for Jennifer Garner?
You think they locked her in there on purpose?
on her first
Listen,
Comic-Con?
do you know? Have you ever met a publicist? I don't
Yeah.
doubt it.
Well,
I'm just
listen,
saying.
it obviously didn't do very much if we didn't hear about it.
I mean, she posted on her socials, but
She tried.
you know,
She's just trying to make it happen.
She's trying.
It wasn't happening.
but yeah, the Marvel,
Okay, so what happened with Robert Downey Jr.?
they announced that he is Victor Von Doom for the upcoming Avengers
2
movies.
films.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, everyone's like, oh my God, wasn't he Iron Man? Bitch. Like,
Yeah, okay, can
They
you
don't give a
explain
fuck.
that? No, but can you explain?
So-
Because he was Iron Man and now he's not Iron Man, so he's coming
Well,
back
he's
as,
dead.
as
Iron Man is
Iron Man
dead.
died.
Yeah, he died.
When did he die?
comics,
the-
he's died.
What? Oh,
It's
in the-
okay.
And
Remember,
the last Avengers movie.
Zach,
He
remember?
died in the last Avengers?
Yes.
When? Oh,
was-
because half the with the Thanos and the
after
rings.
after the snap reversed, and he
snapped
came back
and
and he sacrificed himself for all of humanity.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
okay. You're not straight, so like it's okay that you don't know this.
I've seen the movies.
Okay.
Okay, so Robert Downey Jr. died in the Avengers.
Iron Man, yes.
Iron Man died in the Avengers.
So the
okay?
wild thing is, people are now realizing this as of yesterday, but he had a meeting in 2005 to play Victor Von Doom, an evil villain, before he even booked Iron Man.
Which didn't come out till 2008, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they basically have people being like, the fuck? Like, why is he playing 2 roles? People forget that also our favorite Captain America
Chris Evans was
the Human
Fantastic
Torch.
Four.
Was
Yes.
a hot Human Torch.
So like we've seen people
was
play
warm.
multiple roles who knows like what else we're gonna get. People don't give a fuck. They just want to see Robert Downey Jr.
Well, and they
back.
announced and they say,
Well-
I mean, he gets $50 million a picture, by the way, which is absurd for the last 2 films at least. They probably even paid him more for these next 2 upcoming Avengers films.
Marvel's also knowing that they're like kind of not performing in the way they need to, so they're bringing back everybody. So when Deadpool and Wolverine was announced, they're like, fuck this.
Well,
Hugh Jackman coming back, we're not gonna get another Wolverine, but also like
we don't want one. I don't
No,
want
we
another
don't.
one.
We already have a Wolverine.
The streets want it.
Robert Downey Jr. just won an Oscar. He's currently nominated for an Emmy. They announced him as the greatest actor of our generation, which I mean that's a big
feat.
Sure, I mean I'm not going to quite go there, but I think
erase women.
He is one of the greats. I mean nobody can replace Meryl. I mean let's be honest. Devil Wears Prada 2. I will wait in line for that.
I will wet 40x. I will have Meryl Streep.
Feel the piercing of her lips.
Yes.
But that's like the nutshell, and that's like the craziness. Like I'm just like a block or two away, and I hear screaming, and I'm like, why are we screaming? I went to the Marvel party.
I will say that I've sort of been over Marvel since the pandemic. Before pre-pandemic, I was so all in on everything Marvel, and since I've been kind of like,
I haven't seen a full Marvel film since the Avengers. Number one, the first one.
It felt like the conclusion, and I was okay with that.
And I'm like, you know, I'm okay. I'm over. Like I'm drag raced out. I'm Marveled out.
Come on! I just finally watched All Stars finale last night. Weeks behind. We were so bored.
You were bored?
The season was just. I didn't like the all the competing for charity aspect of it. I love the charities. I think it's fantastic they were doing that, but it didn't feel there wasn't enough at stake. And then also like the badges. Too many badges. Everybody got Plastique, not in the finale. Sorry, spoiler alert.
So much
is just an atrocity to me.
There's so much that happened this weekend. Drag Race, the ComicCon, who also booked ComicCon the same weekend as the Olympics.
Yeah, which is
terrible.
Why?
Did you watch the Olympics?
All
of it?
Okay, so
that's so many sports.
Where are we allowed to say we are right now, and what time is this? I don't know when this is going to air. However,
it's basically in real time. It's less than 24 hours.
Fantastic. So this morning, before I came here, I was watching the women's team finals, and I just left as Jordan Childs fell off the balance beam, and it broke my heart. I don't know how it's turning. Right
Remember
now,
how you spoiled? I spoiled it for you. You spoiled it for me.
They could fall a couple of times.
I'm glad I didn't care about either of them.
Listen, I've watched everything, and every single night, my husband's like, "Oh my god, more sports." He's like, "Why do we have to watch this?" And then all of a sudden, he'll find himself like crying over archery or something absurd. He's like, "I had no idea it was this exciting." I'm like, "Yes."
It is.
Yes.
I more so was
riveting.
Like at Comic-Con, and I'm getting these like Celine Dion, Gaga updates. Like that's where everyone was encapsulated this weekend because there were rumors that they were supposed to perform.
Yes.
And when Celine Dion came to perform, people forgot she hasn't performed at the Olympics in almost 30 years. But also like she did perform at the Olympics before. She has a lot of people commenting.
30 years ago. That's so long ago.
Atlanta.
Yeah. And so people are saying,
crazy.
Did she actually sing live? Did she not sing live? And I'm like,
who cares?
She did great.
Well,
for her to get up on that stage.
Here's the thing. Because some of my favorite artists have been,
Beyonce.
At the inauguration years ago, she didn't sing. Well, it was 18 below that day, so of course she didn't sing live. Celine has had, was it stiff person syndrome, I think is what they call it, for the last 2 years, has not performed at all. We didn't know she'd ever walk again, let alone be able to sing. And if you're Celine Dion, whether she sang it live or not is irrelevant to me because she sang it.
Yeah.
You don't get somebody else to sing a Celine song. Who do you turn to? So at some point, she sang that song. It might have been in the studio 2 weeks prior. I don't care. It appeared that she was singing live. But she's like one of those people like, Britney's Blackout album, I remember years ago, there were all these rumors that like Carrie Hilson and like other people were singing like her tracks because she was in a really bad space at the time. You can get somebody else to perform Britney.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody on earth is going to do Celine like Celine.
Are you saying nobody performed that Britney didn't perform Blackout?
Listen, she was blacked out.
That's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a deep dive that I haven't been on.
Also, Celine Dion getting up on that stage, she has stiff person syndrome. For her to even like be in that space, walking, like performing, like
you can tell how much it meant to her too. I'm a sucker for somebody who has tears in their eyes. If I see one tear droplet welling up in somebody's eye,
you cry.
And I know they have any sort of story that I give like the slightest fuck about, I'm losing my shit. And I did. I cried and I cried and I cried.
Well, aside from the musical performances,
Well,
Candace
who
Cameron-
did you like better, Celine or
Ooh,
Gaga?
We're going back to this.
Oh God, don't! I was hoping you wouldn't ask me this. I hated Gaga's performance.
It wasn't
so
good,
much.
right?
It was
Okay, I'm glad
terrible.
I'm
Okay,
glad
so
he said it first.
It's interesting because one of the first shows that I went to see after the pandemic started to let up was Chromatica Ball, right?
Oh,
Dodger Stadium,
Yeah, I saw it.
fantastic,
I was
loved it.
there.
And I took my husband Emil. He's not a huge Gaga fan, but he likes her, right?
Okay.
I'm obsessed. Always
okay.
have been.
I've been obsessed. I've
To
seen her
me,
4
it's
times.
always sort of been Beyonce and Gaga were like 1A and 1B. Like they're right there with each other. Beyonce, of course, is mother, but Gaga's right there with her. And she's had some bops over the years, so I love her. And I was really excited about this because I also saw rumors that she would be performing. I think that, first of all, the rain just did a lot. She pre-recorded that performance, which I didn't find out until later. And I also, because the thing is about the opening ceremonies, they weren't able to do like a tech rehearsal of any of it,
No.
which is wild to pull off a production of that caliber
Yeah.
with no rehearsals. So, and you could see it because while it was happening, I was actually, a good friend of mine is Jamal Sims. He choreographs on RuPaul's Drag Race, speaking of. And I texted him, I said, "Oh my God, honey. Somebody
Oh my
should have
God,
reached
honey.
out to you." And of course, he's very kind and supportive of all choreographers. I don't know who choreographed it. And I don't think the issue necessarily was the choreography. I think the issue was the camera work. I don't think the camera crew had an opportunity to get the shots on the stairs from the river the way they needed to for it to pop, because so much of it,
It's also
she
so
was hidden.
far.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it's
couldn't
such
see
a far
her.
shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she sounded great. She looked great, but like
No.
I couldn't see her.
I feel like it was like that for a lot of the opening ceremony. Just the
Yes.
shots that they went with, I
Yeah.
just didn't feel like gave us the
experience, and also get these camera operators a towel. All the water droplets on the camera screens, I know
They're in
that's
the splash
difficult, but I'm
zone.
like, come on, grab a chamois. Like it
Yeah.
was
ShamWow.
squeegee, these things.
ShamWow,
Like
yeah.
it was so frustrating to me because I'm like, I don't want this blurred image.
Well, hopefully when we do it in LA,
Oh,
that we don't fuck it up.
Did you see
like they did in Paris.
Have you seen the TikTok going around about LA the day after?
No.
So it was like LA the morning after, and it was like still photos of like Venice Beach, Manhattan Beach, like downtown LA. And then, of course, somebody did like the little mouth and the eyes, like they're talking to each other, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, girl, we can't do that. No, trust me." And Venice Beach is like, "Trust me, it's not as cute here as it looks in the movies." And they're going, and the Hollywood Hills sign, like, "No, it's trashy up here. What are we going to do?" And they're basically panicking about how to sort of like follow up the laser light show. in
I
the
don't know
Eiffel
how
Tower.
we're
that
gonna
was
do
like
it.
Tomorrowland EDC.
Right.
Like
That was the best part of the show.
that was
Besides
nuts.
Celine, of course, but yeah.
People are also our last Olympic update. I mean, there's so much to talk about today, but people are not happy with the drag queens being involved
Oh,
and making a mockery
God.
of Christianity.
Oh, God.
And it was not the Last Supper, but people are most likely, or at least most geared towards Candace Cameron Bure right now
Of
and what
course.
she said
Jodie Sweeten came out against her again, which I love.
subtly.
Yeah.
And I love how media, we love to say, speaks out. It's like she shared an Instagram post on her story and didn't put any text or anything else. She just shared it,
Uh-huh.
which is like a Instagram story subtweet, if you want to call
Yeah.
it that.
Yeah.
And so she put a 6-minute tangent. She's like, I'm not trying to get involved. I'm not trying to say anything.
But yeah,
But
you are.
the Olympics obviously are important to me. My husband's an Olympic athlete. And so she goes on this 6-minute tangent. And I watched it, the entire thing.
Yeah.
And she also has cross dissolves where they don't make sense. So she's mid-sentence and it goes to the next point.
Mm.
But like, she is speaking Bible verses of like basically saying you are lukewarm. Like you should be, if you are a Christian and you are not like offended by this, you should
Offended by what?
you should take the gospel.
I want to go ahead and grab this one and run with it. Zachary, go ahead. What is that? What do you have right now?
Woo!
I feel like
I'm
you have-
ready, I'm ready.
I want to hear this.
No, I'm just I listened to her rant. I saw Jodie Sweeten's response. I listened to the artist that put this together. And initially, after watching the actual, which I think they ended up taking down from like YouTube, so you can't even really watch clips aside from like what people recorded on their phones and put online. But I mean, I understand, and listen, not only am I part of the LGBTQ plus community, but I was also raised Catholic and
Same.
Christian.
Same.
And so I understand, and not that I still subscribe to a lot of that dogma or any of that today, but I understand, I grew up in the Catholic Church, but also my father's side of the family was very Christian, like very conservative Christian. So the type that would get riled up about something like this. So I understand it from both sides. I get the Christian outrage because it does look like the Last Supper. And I know they're trying to say, oh, well, the Olympics are based in Greek mythology. And so it's this other like dinner of the gods or whatever they were trying to call it, or whether that's the inspiration or not.
Dionysus, or who was the...
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows what the fuck that is. And so watching that, you're not going to think, oh, it's the dinner of Dionysus or whatever. It does look like the Last Supper. And the woman in the center does look like a Christ-like figure with the crown that was worn at the center. So I understand them being upset because it was supposed to... my opinion, it was supposed to be a statement that was supposed to get people riled up. The same exact way that in the opening ceremony, they have that menage a trois scene where they're in the library.
Would get people more riled up.
I thought so too.
I didn't think that would be the moment.
I didn't think the Last Supper was what was going to get people fired up.
Like 3 male or female or non-binary people kind of like alluding to like sexual. I thought that would be the talking point.
I agree, because it wasn't like this is a throuple in a committed relationship. Mm-hmm. It was like, these are 3 young queer people that are in the library that are going upstairs to have a threesome, which I thought would absolutely get people more fired up than the Last Supper scene. But I get or they're saying it's not the Last Supper and that wasn't the intention.
Well, there weren't 13 people, first of all. If you just counted the number of people there were not.
Well, I think the original shot does show there are 6 people on each side, 1 in the center, and then the final shot where the blue guy's in the middle.
But if you watch the actual show, there's so many more people on that table. But of course, that's the photo.
But that was a shot. And my thing is, if you are the creative director and you're putting this together, you know that this is going to get people talking.
Absolutely.
And you know that it's going to ruffle feathers.
I also love that. If I think part of the issue is that too many Americans have spent no time abroad. Yeah. And to your point, you said, who the fuck knows this? A lot of people in other parts of the world do know Greek mythology. I studied Greek mythology growing up, and I didn't initially clock it.
I don't think most would.
Sure. But that doesn't mean, but that is, I think, a uniquely American problem, that we're not quite as educated as we like to think we are sometimes about certain cultural and historical sort of figures.
I don't think it was specific to Americans, though. I think it was specific to the Christian outrage community.
Globally? Because I'm seeing it here in the United States, and I think that there's a certain sort of level of comfortability when it comes to anything sexual here in the United States. Yeah. And I will even go so far as to say this, because this is usually my argument, because I think that oftentimes when we get caught up in these discussions as queer people, or in any sort of conversation that has anything to do with anything other than a cis, straight, white, male, Christian dominated conversation, I think the conversation gets lost a bit. So I would even say this: if it's not this, let's say it was the Last Supper. Okay, let's just say it actually was the Last Supper. What the fuck would be wrong with 13 queer people sitting at the table at the Last Supper? Why can't we even why is that so wrong? Because if you believe in the Bible, and if you believe in Jesus Christ, as Christians say they do, he would be the first person to invite a dozen queer people to sit next to him at that. So that is, and we don't even get to that conversation. Right. And that's the frustrating part. Like, you don't own
the other side of the Bible to like fight that. And I think the other thing that really is just like a sticking point is like, if this was recreated in a movie and it was not drag queens, people would be like, oh, cool, a nod to...
I disagree with that.
Really?
I completely disagree with that. And I think to your point is that the reason people are reacting is because it does seem like it was a parody of the Last Supper.
Sure.
Because if it was meant to be taken inspiration, then you would say, we took inspiration from the Last Supper, and this was the intention behind what we were trying to create.
Yes,
and that wasn't acknowledged. There was no acknowledgement of the Last Supper, and I think it's because of the fact that there was so much criticism. And it's like nobody that was putting this together creatively was not, and so many people are like, oh, well, it obviously was so based in, Greek mythology because that's where the Olympics come from. But it's like, but there were so many other elements. Like you put Marie Antoinette in there. She's not from Greek mythology.
Sure.
Or was that supposed to be Medusa with her head?
Throughout the show, there were a lot of different references to a lot of historical figures.
To other things.
And I will also say, it's also a good lesson it's a reminder that, guess what? The world doesn't revolve around America.
Yeah,
I
agree.
We tend to think that we are the center of the fucking universe, but if an artistic director in Paris, France wants to put on a show for the Paris Olympics, not staged in the United States, they should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. And we as Americans need to realize that might not be my vibe, it might not be my cup of tea, but I can respect the artistic expression, and that is what's being challenged here. Don't get it twisted. And that is the part that concerns me more than anything else.
Well, I think because there is the element of the you're taking it's fine to be creative and to push boundaries, but when you're taking something that is special to a lot of Christian, and again, I don't identify as Christian or Catholic.
Right.
I'm just saying that I understand both sides of the coin, because I feel like there's often this polarization when it comes to Christianity and the queer community, and it's like we often want to point the finger at each other or like divide us further, when it's like, but I just think there can be a level of respect that can be honored on both ends.
But I hear that, and here's because
I don't think it's specific to just Americans.
Absolutely, but I hear that, and I also push back on that. Whenever it comes to like social issues, I think there's always like the Martin Luther King approach and the Malcolm X approach, right? I'm a little more of a Malcolm X approach kind of guy myself, to be honest. There are moments for like kindness and peace and conversation, but when people don't respect or value your life, there's no equality there. There's no conversation to be had. There's no middle ground there. And if Christians want to get this upset about what they perceive to be the Last Supper, which of course, and I agree with you, was designed to sort of spark this conversation.
Right.
Are you not upset by the fact that we've whitewashed Jesus Christ for generations?
No, I think
Jesus
that there
wasn't
are
white.
more
Jesus was not a white man, but
but
we've taken ownership of that, and specifically as Americans, believe that this white man came down from the heavens and saved us all and died for our sins, which was also never true. So if we're going to get upset about depictions of biblical characters, let's start at the top with Jesus Christ. He's not a white guy.
I think.
Yeah, but I think the difference is it's not necessarily like there's nothing parodying Jesus Christ with depicting him as a white man.
Whiteface? That's not problematic? I mean, just because we've been doing it for so long, we're comfortable with it, so we're not like outraged. But what if all of a sudden one day, what if we'd always known, let's just say tomorrow,
but
the first depiction we see
even
of
if
Jesus...
we want to argue whiteface, the character is still Jesus Christ. It's not putting somebody else in that position.
So all you're doing with those other characters would be changing possibly the gender or the sexuality.
Yeah, I think to put a big summarization on it is like, we have all these depictions of Christian and like Greek mythology and like film, TV, arts, and more. We've had so many different things. I think the real big thing here was like, it's drag queens. And so we've had movies, we've had like Greek mythology inspired into like Disney and different things. And no one gets like this riled up, but the fact that there are drag queens involved in this interpretation, that's for me at least. I think people were like, no, this one, hard no. Like we've seen other people talk about how Christianity is represented in TV and film, and Greek mythology is put into like TV and film. This was like a real life setting.
All of Shakespeare's plays were performed by men. Those are drag queens. Men played women. So drag queens have always existed.
I think it's the sexualization not that I'm agreeing with this or not. I just think it's fair that if we're going to have these conversations, it's only fair to look at both sides of the coin. And so the argument that I often hear is that it comes down to the sexualization, and there is a sexualized element to drag that, is a little more hyperbolized in some of the costumes or some of the artistry in drag culture.
And we're still in the hot topic button of drag.
Totally.
Like, I think anyone right now is like, I'm going to take my
Do you think if there were 12 Nina West out there who was not sexualized at all? I've known Andrew for many years. Nina's I'm from Columbus, Ohio, so we go way, way back.
Hell yeah.
Do you think if there were 12 Nina West type drag queens out there that people wouldn't be upset because she's not sexual at all? They'd still be upset.
Possibly.
I still think they'd be upset.
And that's a very real.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very real thing. But I also think it's very easy to dismiss someone like Candace Cameron Bure for having an opinion where if the tables were reversed, there would be so many of us that would go on TikTok being outraged about some sort of, interpretation that we receive as a parody.
But we do.
Yeah.
We have our entire lives, though.
Yeah.
We've been targeted our entire lives. And, listen, I love me some Candace Cameron Bure. I used to write her letters as a child when she was DJ Tanner. I would write her fan letters as a kid when I was still closeted. And, I want to love her so much. I love her Hallmark films. I think she's dead fucking wrong. And there's not a thing in the world she could ever say to, make me feel otherwise. And that is the right and the freedom that I want to continue to fight for is the ability to disagree so wholeheartedly with somebody, and also still live my truth. Because listen, we have the freedom to be here having these conversations as fully grown queer people who are stepping into our own. The next generation is still fighting for that, and they might not have it. And so I think things like her comments are very detrimental to the next generation.
And she's made continuous comments. And
Yes,
I think it's
she's
not
done
just
this-
like her
yes.
stance, but it's just, I think it's, if it was someone else,
She doesn't think
people would
same-sex
be-
couples should appear in Hallmark films, which is why she left and went to the other network. I mean, the things she said over the years are just
I think that was
hurtful.
taken out of context. But
She
here's my
left.
point.
She left. She up and left and took a new contract because she didn't like the direction they were heading. And one of my good friends from childhood, Jonathan Bennett, was the first male,
Yeah.
in one of the first, same-sex relationships on. And so, I don't know. I think she also likes attention too. She still is a celebrity.
You
Do
know
you know
what?
what I mean?
I'll just put a pin in it and laugh at the comment. She said, I didn't want to get involved in this, but I'm in here.
Then
And
sit
she's
down.
like, 6
No,
minute
she
class.
said, I don't often comment on these things anymore because they become headlines, but I felt that this one was important enough to comment on because of my family's history with the Olympics. So, not that I agree with her, 'cause I don't
Say
agree.
that
I
one more
want to
time.
make it clear.
know.
I don't agree with her being disgusted by the display. It was a little obscure for me, but I think half of the fucking opening ceremony was obscure for me, but I'm not
Weird.
as cultured.
Totally. But it was a
Yeah,
weird opening
It
ceremony.
was
I
a
would do
very
it
weird
different.
opening
I would do it
ceremony.
different.
Yeah.
With the laser lights, Gaga, and you put the whole drag queen performance together. I don't think they all pair. It's like a tasting menu.
It
It's
was
like
all
it's like
over
having
the
pizza
place.
and like
Yeah.
some chocolate fountain and like some
Yes.
barbecue, and you're
Yeah.
like, does this all go
And
together?
then the one artist came out and she was singing. She was like a pop star, but she was performing with like the old guard, a whole bunch of old white men
Yes.
who were forced to
Yes.
dance. And
Yeah, it was
military
weird
uniforms.
and it was
a lot.
awkward. And the threesome was also very oddly
Yeah.
scrunched.
It
But
felt
listen, my
forced.
point is, I don't agree with her. However, I do think she's entitled to be offended and to defend her religion. Whether I agree
Fair.
with it or not, that's one thing that I will stand when it comes to our country is we should be able to respect other people's differences, and people are going to be offended by things we don't understand. And she's fair to have that opinion and to rant about it on TikTok should she choose to, and that's her prerogative.
Mm.
Well, moving on to music, we did a good number on the Olympics. I mean, we haven't done that in a minute and go full ham.
I was wondering how
I
this
was like, how do
conversation
we-
was going to
Listen,
go.
I have opinions. They're not always right, but they're always mine.
So things
Same.
that Gaga did give us is new music snippets at the Olympics. She's like, I'm gonna go in this car and I'll play some new LG7 snippet, and y'all gonna leave. And she brought like an iPad out or something,
Uh-huh.
and she played it for people, and people are losing their shit. Like,
I feel like this is cute. This is like old school marketing.
Yeah.
And I remember back when, so I grew up like a Britney gay, right?
Yeah.
Her first single came out when I was in high school. That's how old I am. So we're like that same generation. Don't ooh me. You just don't.
Well, no, because I wasn't in high school. I remember the first single. I remember getting the cassette when I wasn't in high school.
Lord. Yeah, I've been on like an NSYNC Backstreet Boys kick lately. I've been all the old
documentary?
the good pop. Yeah, Dirty Pop got me back on it. I think. Oh my god, I didn't put that together. But I feel like back in the day, I remember Britney when one of her first albums was coming out. I forget, it was Oops, I Did It Again, or one of those early albums. She popped up at a whole bunch of nightclubs in New York City in the middle of the night and just performed singles.
Love.
And everybody lost their minds, and it was like free press. And
Yeah.
I feel like this is sort of like what Gaga is sort of doing with the iPad. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you hear a little bit, gonna drive down the street, pop out the sunroof, and like live my best life.
yeah,
I think it's smart.
I think Katy Perry's team also used to have like really good marketing, and now
Yeah.
it's been interesting. But she's also announced Lifetimes is her official new single. We've heard snippets. She tried to do like the same thing that Gaga did, but she went on Zane Lowe's Apple Music
Yeah.
podcast.
Wait,
and played
who's singles lifetimes?
Katy Perry.
Oh, is she trying to be Eras? What is happening? We're gonna restart that. Lifetimes feels a little bit like a cheap
like an
version of
Sheila song.
Eras.
Anyway,
Oh.
but yeah, she's trying to do the same thing. But Gaga knew like I have everybody's eyes on me, and I think everyone
Yeah.
should be like going through and using these opportunities to be like, you want me? I'm gonna also use this to leverage me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think she was paid to do that?
Well, I know that the reports are that Celine Dion was not paid.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
because like
can't-
the Super Bowl, you're not paid for any of that, but the exposure alone. So I'm thinking, to your point, Andy, she used this to promote her new music because they probably weren't going to let her perform any of her music at the
Yeah.
opening ceremony to begin with. That was smart, and I'm pretty sure that when we caught her at the airport, that could have possibly even been staged. That Gaga's now
Right.
in Paris. Is she going to be performing at the Olympics? Oh, surprise! Now she's at the Olympics, because then I'm sure it got everybody, all of her fans and press, looking for her before the Olympics even began to see if they could scoop that.
Well, she's also performed in French before. She performed
Yeah.
Olivia and Rose. Like she's done enough over the years
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's not totally
People
out.
were people were so upset at Comic-Con. They're like, this is why we don't have a Joker panel, because she's off at the Olympics. People really wanted Joker, like, previews, announcements, her to be at Comic-Con. I think that would have been
wild.
If she showed up at both somehow.
Imagine.
Can you imagine?
Taylor did it during the Super Bowl. She was everywhere.
Kevin Feige, however you say it, did this Hollywood Walk of Fame star, and then he was at Comic-Con immediately.
Oh, wow.
He went straight there.
I don't know if I can do the next Joker film. The last one was so difficult to watch for me. I felt like if you have any mental health issues whatsoever, and I do, it was
They're
so
rough.
It was so dark and rough.
And weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of weird,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should move on to some weird news.
Okay, transition.
Okay.
Look at
She got better at
you.
it. Look at that, Zach. See, we've come a long way. So I want to get y'all's opinion on this.
Okay.
I love to throw in a little wacky story every so often. And I came across this one that I thought, why not let the girls hear about this? So the title of this article is called I'm a Professional Mermaid. Woman opens up about life in the water, including dives in her $6,000 tail. Have y'all ever heard of a professional mermaid?
No.
Oh, I watched a documentary years ago.
That one.
On
one-
real
I forgot
mermaids?
Is it
about
like
that.
Florida
Professional
or
mermaids?
something or somewhere down? Of course, it's probably Florida. The answer, if it's weird and obscure, it's probably Florida. I think it took place down there, and there was like an aquarium where women like would dress up like mermaids
Yeah.
and perform underwater
Yeah.
for visitors.
It's wild, and it's like big, competition or something.
Mm-hmm.
So this woman, she started her several businesses originally from recording mermaid content on Periscope. Do y'all remember Periscope?
Yes.
Oh, Periscope. That's
Was
like
that
a
was
throwback.
Periscope? Was that
Twitter.
Twitter?
Twitter.
Yeah,
Twitter's
Twitter.
Oh my
live.
God.
Yeah.
So she teaches people how to be a professional mermaid and about the practice. And yes, her tail is
Wait,
six-
she's currently on Periscope doing this?
No, she started on Periscope
started
8
on
years
Periscope.
ago, but
Got it,
she
got it.
said, quote, I wanted to live underwater because I'm a complete water child. I thought I'll go live underwater as a mermaid. That way the viewers have something interesting to watch. I did some research and found the mermaid tail, and I got a GoPro, and that's literally how I started. So she teaches people, and she became a talent for the Vero Beach Mermaid brand.
Okay, go off.
So
She's
Yeah.
a business owner.
she's a business
She's an
owner.
entrepreneur.
She has these photos of her and her long tail. Have you all ever heard of people in your immediate circle talk about mermaids as much?
I love mermaids.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot of muscle exercise.
Yeah, it is. I've never worn the tail. I would love to.
Really?
Haven't you seen the TikToks of the mermaids in the water and then they like can't swim and then they're like dying?
Oh, because they don't know how to like do it properly.
Yeah.
I think
Oh.
that's
They
why
get, like,
she
stuck in the water.
teaches these classes, and she actually teaches safety, mermaid
Yeah.
safety.
She does
They
retreats
need, yeah,
with
they
them,
need
she
that.
says.
I've seen enough of the mermaids underwater, and they have to like rip the tails off, and then the kids are
No.
like, oh, and then the
Ah.
mom's like, oh, she got her legs.
Oh,
Oh.
my gosh, no!
So
Stop.
she teaches these on
Mermaid.
retreats in beautiful locations, from pools to kids to adults. They're giving people the narrative of how to be a steward to the water and how to be able to be safe in water and just empower people. But bitch, I don't know if I could do it.
Well, I could. So I am definitely a water baby.
So you're like a
And-
strong leg man?
Absolutely. I was a swimmer my
Oh.
entire life. So I still swim often. And I actually say this a lot. I'm actually more comfortable in water than I probably am on land. It just feels like my safe space, and I've always been that way. She actually posted a video, this is interesting, at the resort that my husband and I stayed at for our honeymoon last year, and the Four Seasons Bora Bora, and it's like the most absurd place on earth. Like it's like heaven, right? But the water over the bungalows, the overwater bungalows, the water beneath is like maybe like 6 feet deep.
Oh.
And I would get in there, and sometimes little sharks would swim by, like
No.
like the friendly ones that you can swim with though. Like I forget what kind it is. We swam with them one day.
The
They're-
whale shark?
yeah.
yeah.
They're not too big, but they're like 3 or 4 feet long, and they're like
Yeah.
cute, right?
No, I
You don't
still
want to like
would
touch
not-
them, but like
I
yeah,
didn't. Yeah, no.
they're cute. But I would get in there every morning and every night at sunset, and I'd swim laps around that little bay. She posted a TikTok of her with her fins at the same resort swimming in the bay.
Wow.
And I was like, girl, you one upped me. You
You.
like 10 upped me. And you can also, she has an online shop. You can buy all the gear. Her fins, like her like mermaid fins, they're gorgeous. They're all silicone. They
Yeah.
sell for $290.
This girl has a 35-pound tail. And
Hers
it's
is
made,
way more expensive.
Hell
made from
no.
dragons.
Wait,
Dragons?
Wait, no, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. No, wait a minute.
She said it's made from dragon scales.
Okay, sure.
Like a kimono dragon?
That's
Anyway.
okay. They
It-
do
it
exist.
works.
You're right.
Anyway.
Okay.
Dragons
wow,
are
way to-
real.
Way to school me.
And other things that are going viral
See,
right
I'm
now,
more
though,
cultured than you think
You just
for
don't know
being an
about Greek
American.
mythology. Just about dragons.
me trying to reel this back in. Zack told me something that was going viral before we even started the podcast today.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And so this is our segment. Obviously, there's viral, weird stories, things that people are talking about. Zack, how did this start necessarily? Like Gypsy Rose's photos are...
Oh.
She just celebrated her 33rd birthday, and I guess the internet thought, in a way to honor her, they resurfaced the crime scene photos
Oh my God.
of when her mother
No.
was taken out. Because we want to stay
Unalived?
friendly, unalived, stay friendly
So-
for the YouTube.
My question is, when a crime happens, these photos are documented, and like, when do they get released to the public? Because I thought that like when we have crime evidence, that the media or the police department decides this goes in the confidential vault or other things, but these are just like popping up on like a lot of places.
Well, when the trial concluded and she was sentenced, then their whatever evidence was revealed in court then became public record.
That
So
makes
anybody can access these photos. And I guess there was a podcaster that went and accessed them, and then from there put them on her Patreon, and then people got them and have been circulated. And they're very
Patreon.
graphic.
Why are we
They're
paying for crime scene photos on
No.
Patreon?
very graphic.
Listen, these sorts of things, just like, it's so gross to me. And they put it behind a paywall. Like, I thought Robin Dixon was bad when she, did what she did on Patreon. This is like a whole different level. I would just like to say, Gypsy Rose, happy 33rd. Happy Jesus year. It's a big year. 33 is an angel number. Hopefully you'll get
Did
through
you
it.
see the photos? They're very graphic.
I would never look at them.
It was very hard.
I wouldn't
very
because,
graphic.
genuinely, my spirit can't handle that kind of stuff.
No, it's
I
very
don't want
dark.
to see them. I would never look at them. I wouldn't share them. That's just not my vibe. I can't.
My
Yeah.
question to the group is, what do you all think is going to happen now with these coming back into light? Do you think that Gypsy is going to address these photos, or
No. I think she's just going to move on from it. I mean, the fact that she hasn't even addressed them now, and it's been, 48 hours since they've gone live again, I think she just wants to forget that ever happened.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm a reality star now. Thank you,
Yeah.
next.
I think it's easy oftentimes to forget that people she's now in pop culture, right?
Mhm.
In the sphere, people that we look to, people that we follow on social media, people that we talk about and gossip about. We forget sometimes that they're human. And to take a step back and to really actually think about what she as a young girl went through every day of her life, right? She's 33 years old now. That's a lot of trauma.
yeah,
That's a lot to unpack for the rest of your life. And it's not like it just happened to her from a stranger. The one person on earth who's supposed to love and protect her, who brought her into this world, did these horrific things to her. And she's not the only person that's suffered in these ways at the hands of a parent. A lot of parents should never be parents, unfortunately, and a lot of people have a lot of trauma to deal with. We all have our baggage, right? But for these photos to come out again right now, and for somebody to be making money off of them,
that's the
it's
part
just-
that I'm
yeah.
just like, I'm gutted about the most. Is people are like, I'm gonna put some sort of like opportunity for me to make money off of this.
Right.
How is it different from her making money off of the scandal of murdering her mother? Because she's literally selling her story. So this person that released these photos also had a deal with her to help get her story out there. And I think the contract had
this
expired.
person did.
The podcaster had a deal with her that she made while Gypsy was in prison to help tell her story. And I guess
That does change things a bit, honestly. I didn't know that part
I
of
know
it.
they did.
the 2-year, I think, contract or whatever, I think expired
yeah.
and nothing ever came of it. So Gypsy was like, okay, I'm not going to work with you anymore. And then
So
when
Gypsy
came out of
probably
prison,
knew these photos were going to come out at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, well, they are public records, so
Yeah, but-
anybody could have accessed them
Got
and
it.
released them at any point.
Got it.
The media could have accessed them. Any other, person could have just put in the
Listen,
request.
If that's your thing, then that's your thing, I guess. I just couldn't do it. I don't want to see images like that.
yeah, no,
Too much.
It's too much.
Yeah. In other news, I guess we've covered a lot for like Olympics and more, and we've kind of like taken up a lot of this episode. But in terms of some other quick little headlines that we can go through, Mr. Ozzy Osborne has apologized to Britney Spears.
Oh yeah, did you see that?
Yeah. Told her to stop dancing, find a new dance or
Yeah,
something.
he told her find a new dance. And then, well, because first he said that it was weird and sad that she was always dancing on Instagram. And then she's like, you guys are the most boring family ever. And then he's like, I'm sorry, but like do a new fucking dance because that one's boring.
Yeah, he apologized, but not really.
Yeah, not really. And then Kelly's like, well, she does do other dances. Sometimes she dances with knives.
Mm-hmm. He did a Real Housewives apology.
Yeah.
Instead of saying I'm sorry, you say I'm sorry if you were hurt by that.
Ooh.
As opposed to saying I'm sorry I did it to you. That's kind of the sorry.
I don't know. I kind of stand by him. It is fucking weird. And she is a little not all there.
Agreed. I think we all know that. I think we've all known that for years, unfortunately. And I think that to have the entire Osborne family sort of like jump on board, because all four of them were kind of bullying her a little bit. They said nice things, but they also like kind of disparaged her and
Backhanded
laughed about her.
compliments.
Yeah.
But how is that different from the three of us saying it right now on this podcast? It's not that different from the four Osbornes and three,
I'm Sharon.
pop culture commentators.
They're famous.
Speaking of other quick headlines, Real Housewives in New Jersey.
Oh, thank God we got here. Thank God. That's
will
all
there
I
be-
wanted to talk
okay,
about.
Will there be a reboot? We're quick on
No.
time.
There does
No?
not need to be a reboot of Jersey. It's so fucking good. Here's what they need to do. Ready? Hot take. Get ready for it. I'm going to get some hate for this. Drop Teresa and drop Jen Aiden. Period. The rest of the cast is great. There's enough drama. They get along. They bring the heat. Teresa has been trash for the last few seasons.
Yeah.
She is the common denominator. This whole like reveal where she got everybody together to show what this like slimy attorney of hers found out about Margaret Joseph was not a reveal at all.
No.
Even her closest friends were like, honey, that's nothing.
Yeah.
And also, we've talked about all of this, and you've also admitted to doing this to her for years, so
Yeah.
it's pretty tit for tat at this point. I genuinely, listen, kudos to Teresa. She was the heart and soul of the show. She helped launch it. She is the root of that franchise. And I'm not saying for her to go away forever, but since Louis has come into her life, he's a con man first and foremost, period, point blank. He just is.
Dirty
You
John.
just look at him and he's just not a good person. Joe Gorga and Melissa Gorga tried really hard. At first, he was very supportive of Louis.
Yeah.
And then Louis hired an attorney, Bo Dietl, infamous name now. We all know him.
Well, first their business,
Yes.
their pizza
Fell
Remember,
through.
it's all
fell
just,
through.
And it let all the and it's so heartbreaking because I genuinely feel when Teresa came back from being away, right? Prison. And she tried her namaste thing that she's still sort of doing, but she's not really doing.
Yeah.
That first season I felt for her. I really did feel for her. And the way that Margaret Josephs took her out to the beach and released the flowers into the water for her mother who passed away while she was gone. Margaret was a real friend to her. Now, I don't think that for one second that Margaret can't get down and dirty because she can.
Yeah.
But she also is a really, really good friend. The way Jackie flipped this year was really weird. It's uncomfortable to watch
She
and
wanted
desperate.
to push her book.
Yes. And then Teresa and Jennifer Aiden.
Well-
Now, Jennifer Aiden could have redeeming qualities. I just think Teresa needs to be gone for that to happen.
Yeah.
Hot
well,
take.
as
see.
they say, any product in its current state will eventually die. So it's got to die and it's got to
Well, they've got new girls.
They gotta-
I think
they
Jen
gotta
Fuda,
figure it out.
Jen Fessler's great. I think Rachel
Fuda.
Fuda's really great. I think I love
Danielle.
Danielle, and I think that Dolores has had the season of her career.
Well, I think we'll have to have you back when a new announcement comes up.
Please, I love Jersey so much.
Well-
they always get the shortest of the seasons of all the Housewives, and I don't
I know.
understand why.
You have such great opinions, though,
I
on a lot of
no.
different things.
I have here's the thing. I have an opinion on it. My opinion is like what they say. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, but like I
Only
have.
some shine.
I have a well.
You know.
No comment. But I do have opinions on a lot of things.
Well,
often.
It's been great having you here. I know
Thank
we
you.
spent a lot of this episode talking about the Olympics. We didn't get to some other things, but like I wholeheartedly enjoyed this episode with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I love Zack.
It was
and
like
obviously
we
I
were
love
on
you.
The View. I was Candace Cameron Bure.
Oh
and
my
you-
God.
You could be Raven.
I can't be like Joy or something. Raven. I love Raven. Like, don't get me
Oh my
twisted.
gosh.
Joy Behar brings it. I will say this though. I want to call you out for having line dancing skills like no other.
Oh,
Because we got to do a line dancing class. Was it Kaylin Allen's event last month for Pride Month? And all of a sudden, this bitch over here was like two-step and line all around the circles.
that's how I get my workouts in.
And Emil and I are like, what is happening?
My first time line dancing.
No, it was not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, so you're a dancer?
No.
Yeah, he's very good at dancing.
But
you
like I just
picked-
watched, like you're Britney gay. I watched Britney music videos, watching
You
them growing
picked
up. And,
the choreo so fast. Wow.
and some of
Yeah,
us are
they
just
can.
built different. But
Wow.
AJ, where can they find you who can't line dance?
Oh, I cannot line dance. You will not be seeing me line dancing on TikTok or Instagram or any of my other socials, _ AJ Gibson, or just go to ajgibsontv.com. You can get my book, Flipping the Script there. You can also, which we talked about years
Yeah.
ago when my book came out, Zack
Yeah.
supported it, which I appreciate, and find out all the other fun things I'm doing there.
Amaze. Well, obviously, if you haven't subscribed, what do they do, Zach?
Get subscribed.
And get fucked. No, I'm kidding. Leave a review.
That's
By a
hot.
furry.
Well, okay. Have a blessed week, everyone. We'll see you real soon.
Not you ending with a blessing.